Huawei's entry-level P series phone is actually a decent handset, despite it coming in way less than half price of the P30 Pro. They've still equipped it really well in the photography department. For £329, it is a good looking phone with a triple rear camera system, the main being that 48 megapixel monster, as well as a depth sensor and an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens. But the P series is just underneath the Mate series in Huawei's lineup, and at the moment you can save the best part of £100 if you go for the Mate 20 Lite, which was released at the end of last year just before the Mate 20 and the Mate 20 Pro. But before we get into it, let me say a big thank you to Direct Mobiles. They have over 24 years of award-winning customer service, and it's just a great place to look if you need a good deal on your next handset. Check down in the video description for a link or search directmobiles.co.uk. So these are both UK specification phones. You will find more RAM in other regions, but these two have 4GB of RAM, and the P30 Lite has 128GB of onboard storage, while the Mate 20 Lite has 64GB. I've always thought that the Mate 20 Lite was very good looking, despite it not having the same design language as the more expensive models in the Mate line. It's totally different, and some people might actually prefer the way it looks. But unlike the Mate, the P30 Lite keeps the same design language as its more expensive siblings, and as a little bonus, deforms the light as it hits the gradient coloured back. The finish does not show the fingerprints on the back too much, and the curved back in comparison to the Mate 20 Lite is slightly more comfortable to hold. But they both have good build quality with metal frames and glass backs. Both devices have a rear mounted fingerprint scanner, which is just as quick as you'd expect. They're both powered by mid-range Kirin 710 processors. Neither of these have any issues with speed. The Mate 20 Lite out of the box comes running EMUI 8, whilst the newer P30 Lite runs EMUI 9. But Huawei are in the process of rolling out EMUI 9 to the Mate 20 Lite. Depending on your region, you may have it already. The rollout should be completed by June, but it will bring what is already a very good handset up to date. For the camera system, as you would expect, the P30 is much more advanced, with its 48 megapixel main sensor, 8 megapixel ultra wide and 2 megapixel depth sensor. It also has a 32 megapixel front facing camera, which performs much better than previous Huawei phones. So there is 4 cameras in total for the P30 Lite, but looks can be deceiving. There is also 4 cameras on the Mate 20 Lite. The 2 on the back are the 20 megapixel main with an f1.8 lens and a 2 megapixel depth sensor for portrait shots. But there's even more megapixels on the front, however. There is a 24 megapixel main and another 2 megapixel depth sensor for selfie portraits. If we take a look through the camera app, then they are largely similar, although there is one shooting mode on the Mate 20 Lite that isn't present on the P30 Lite, and that's the artist mode. It's just a really good set of creative filters that you can use for your photos. But other than that, all the other usual shooting modes are here, including the portrait, aperture and night mode. Although across the board you do get a distinct improvement in image quality with the P30 Lite, and that includes for video. The Mate 20 Lite will shoot at 1080p 30 frames per second, but the P30 can manage 1080p at up to 60 frames per second, which will give you a much smoother appearance to your videos, as well as giving you the ability to slow down your footage by 50%, while still keeping a smooth frame rate. Both phones have USB Type-C connectivity, and they both have a headphone jack as well as a down-firing speaker. The sound coming out of the P30 Lite does seem to be slightly more refined than what's coming out of the Mate 20 Lite. Neither of them sound amazing, but they definitely are good enough and do the job. So I'm just going to play one of my videos, and this is the Mate 20 Lite.
And welcome to my full photography guide of the Huawei P30 Pro. In my last video, I briefly compared the triple camera system on the Galaxy S10 with the P30 Pro.
Right, check out the P30 Lite.
With Btekt, and welcome to my full photography guide of the Huawei P30 Pro. In my last video, I briefly compared the triple camera system on the Galaxy S10 with the P30 Pro.
When it comes to the P30 Lite, I think they've paid more attention to this device than they did with the Mate 20 Lite. It feels like more of a part of the family than that device did, keeping the same design language as well as a very good camera system by all accounts. This is not to say that the Mate 20 Lite is not an excellent device. It does have a larger screen, and with EMUI 9 giving it a whole new lease of life, it is definitely a good buy for the money. Personally, I prefer the P30 Lite, but then I am a photographer. If you're more into gaming, then you might prefer the bigger screen on the Mate 20 Lite, or if you just want to save a big chunk of cash. So that's it from me. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, double tap notifications and smash the like button. I've got lots more phone reviews and comparisons on the way. If you're on social media, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. It's @Btekt, or add me on Snapchat, david.btekt. Thanks for watching. My name's David, and this is Btekt.